In here with a discussion about Lords of the Fallen to talk about the strong early game build that will allow you to pretty much annihilate everything that stands in your path in the early game, and will also help you to get towards a mid-game build that will work quite well. We'll start with class selection and then talk about items and build. Class selection, I would recommend going with the Dark Crusader because he has a significant amount of armor that you can use, as well as fairly solid in terms of both endurance and vitality. And while he's lacking in Inferno, which will be important later on, you can certainly focus on leveling up Inferno with the stats you have otherwise if you are playing a Dark Crusader. So heavy set of armor, heavy weapon, really solid start that you can get with the Dark Crusader over here. This would be my recommendation of a starting class for the build that I'm going for. Or you could certainly go for the Pirate Cultist because he will have all the Inferno you want, and as you level up, you focus on leveling up Endurance and Vitality and other stats as you are playing through the game. But my personal recommendation is certainly going with the Dark Crusader. As a Dark Crusader, you will need about 11,000 Vigor, which I have collected over here. I am just before Pieta, so this is certainly something that's doable. And with 11,000, you spend all of those points in Inferno. You level up Inferno to 13. Some of the things you want to pick up along the way, well, you want to pick up basically all the items in the tutorial area, but some of the important things are Holy Salts, Fire Salts, Fang Vigor Skulls. You can farm experience fairly easily in the initial area. And while you're farming experience, one of the things you're looking to get are these axes, the Raw Mangler axes. These require 13 Inferno each. Now, as a Dark Crusader, you have the vitality and endurance necessary to use these weapons from the very beginning of from the very beginning. When we look at these particular weapons, when we're comparing these two, while the attack power is certainly lower than Paladin Isaac Sword, keep in mind they are much faster, and they're also doing a ton of fire damage. So these axes are certainly good weapons to use early on. And the way you get these axes is you follow the tutorial path and you'll encounter a bunch of these guys. Early on that will drop them. And they'd also drop a decent number of souls, so actually farming them is well worth it anyway. Of course, you could always go if you're willing to level up your weight. You can always go, of course, for Paladin Isaac Sword with a Raw Mangler axe as an offhand. That is your decision with respect to that. Personally, I think just dual-wielding axes is certainly worth it. Another thing to pick up in the tutorial area, if you will, is the ring over here that gives you stamina and stamina regeneration. It's hanging from a tree. Just switch to throwing rocks. On PC, it's, you know, you press 2, you throw control, you hold down control, and you can throw rocks, and you can bring it down. And that is all that you need to make Pieta a relatively easy enough fight. Get the salt, get the axes, and deal with Pieta. Pieta, you are going to want to have 9,500 souls relatively quickly because there are significant benefits with that. You can also get an additional 3,000 souls to get the Ring of Duty, though I don't think this is necessarily worth it because it only increases vitality and endurance by 1. So using the Mine Owner ring along with the Defaced ring is probably the better choice early on. And keep in mind, as a Dark Crusader, you do have the Paladin's Pendant. What you're going to want to get your hands on quickly is the Pilgrim's Perch Key. This costs 9,500. That's what you're going to save the souls for. You can use the souls you get from Pieta, the vigor you get from Pieta, along with some that you can farm. Just don't make any crazy jumps that would risk all of that vigor, because, yeah, losing 9,500 would hurt quite a bit. And this will open this particular door which will give you access to some really solid armor that you can use early on. With the exception of the chest piece. Unfortunately, the chest piece isn't really that great, but you do get access to everything else is pretty solid. And the thing is, the weight of it all is reasonable enough. Now, I leveled up over here a bit, endurance. Actually, I leveled up endurance and vitality a bit over here. So, I am able of using this particular item set quite early on. And if you look at this item set, you look at the comparison, it gives you a significant amount of physical resistance in comparison to the ones you start with. With the exception of the chest piece, though there are others you can get your hands on if you just don't want to use the early one. Yes, the helmet looks ridiculous. You can also use the Scourge Sister helmet, though I'm not sure that's a look you want to go for. But either way, like the Scourge Sister helmet does give a significant amount of protection, physical protection specifically, though you are not going to have as much withering and fire protection as the bell. Though, yeah, wearing a bell for a helmet is flat ridiculous, honestly. And with this, you can go start exploring Pilgrim's Perch. Next step is the blacksmith. Encounter this particular section where you need to go umbral to move forward. Before you move on, though, there is something that is important that you pick up over here. And it's that particular item. You don't need to deal with enemies here. Honestly, the butterflies over there are pretty annoying. So just get to the ladder, get up there as quickly as possible, open the shortcut, and move on.